If you have said to yourself, I should write that, or if someone has said to you, you should write that, then I'm talking to you because you need to write. And that's why you're tuned in to yWrite. Today's episode is brought to you by the law offices of Rafer Pellegrino. With a reputation for results for over 25 years, Rafer sets to achieve positive results for all of his clients. He and his team support the best possible settlement in order for you to get your life back. Consulting with investigators, medical experts, forensic scientists, and more, he builds your case to win for you. Rafer Pellegrino for the win. Hi, I'm Angela Grout, and I'm the host of yWrite, a program filled with conversations about writing with writers for you so that hopefully you'll become a writer too. Each week I have a different guest on and we talk about the different avenues of writing, whether it's the genre or why they've decided to self-publish or publish, and most importantly, why they decided to tell the particular story that they're telling. Today, my guest is the former president of the West Springfield Boys and Girls Club. He is the founder of the JACK JONAH Foundation. He's the creator of the JACK JONAH story, the co-creator of the JACK JONAH story, a father of 3, including Jack Jonah, from which his stories have now become public. And he is a national speaker on the opioid epidemic. Please welcome my guest, Kirk Jonah.
Thank you. Thank you,
Kurt.
Angela.
Thank you so much for coming in today. I really appreciate
Yeah.
you taking the time to come to yWrite and talk to our audience and to me.
Yeah, you're welcome.
I'm a writer. I've written 3 books. You've have this wonderful movie that you have, I'm going to say written, but I want to talk about like not just how you got it written, but the why also behind why this story was so important for you.
Okay.
We have a copy here of the DVD, and this is based on a true story. Jack is your son.
Yes, he is, yeah.
He died of an opioid overdose.
He did 6 years, 10 months, and 9 days ago.
Wow.
Yep.
Yeah, you're never going to let that countdown go for sure.
No, April 6th, 2016.
Wow. And he was 19?
19 years old, yep.
And did you know that, he was having this issue at the time?
No, we did not. I mean, I knew that he was, smoking pot, cigarettes, things like that, but I never knew that he was doing heroin. What happened the day that we found him is I went out to a doctor's appointment. I got a phone call from a friend of mine on the police station. Said, come on home. I'm thinking the dog got out or the alarm went off.
Yeah.
And I got there and we found Jack overdosed and dead in his bed from heroin.
I'm so sorry.
No, thank you.
It's that grief never goes away.
It does not.
It's
no.
the journey. Now it's a journey of
Stay
living
today.
in that. Yeah.
Stay today.
So this story, the Jack Jonah story, I know a little bit about Jack. Like I know when he was, living, he was very vibrant, very happy, very creative, very artistic.
Creative. Yes, he was.
He was writing plays. He was creating
was.
artwork. He's very talented. Is this story the story of Jack in that way?
It incorporates some of that, but really the story is mostly of a journey of a father and his son and the family. The first 11 minutes of the movie, we have it so you don't really know what's going on.
Yeah, I did see the movie, so I know I don't want to ruin it for the audience. If you haven't seen it, you do need to see the story. It's very powerful.
So then, around 11 minutes into the movie, we hit you with something, and that's when you're kind of hooked in.
Yeah.
And then the movie takes on multiple paths and journeys, but primarily it's the journey of a father and son and the family. And then at the end, it's a very, very powerful ending.
Oh, I had tears. It's a beautiful, powerful ending.
It is. I would agree. Yep.
As much as it's such a tragic story of what Jack's gone through and what you've gone through and your family's gone through, the ending of that story has that like happily ever after feel, if I can say that.
I think you walk out feeling uplifted.
Yeah, uplifted. That's definitely
I think that's what we were trying to achieve in the movie.
Now, to start the process
Yep.
of creating this movie, because it's
Yes.
not in a book form. Like, I mean, I've written, books, and I've been adapting them for plays and for the video,
Sure.
you know, for screen. But when you have an actual book, or you have like the outline, you can kind of write a script from that. Now, this story you verbally told to someone, from what I understand.
Yes. So the way so we had a walk called Jack's Walk, and what the foundation does, Jack Jonah Foundation, is we honor those that have passed along with their loved ones. We educate our young adults in our communities on the opioid crisis that we're all facing, and we support those who are fighting a fight of addiction every day. So honor, educate, support, and that's the walk. Well, as the walk completed, a very dear friend of mine, Mike Turville, lifelong friend, artist or book writer, as you know,
He's going
and
to be
movie.
a guest on the show.
Okay, and of course they produced his book, My Promise to Ashes, about an angel in his life, into a movie. So Mike came to me at the walk, after the walk, said, "Hey, can I get together with you, next week?" So we met, and he said, this production company, JC Films, along with Dean Cain, are very interested in your story, and they'd like to talk to you about your story.
Okay.
So what happened was I got on the phone with the producer and the director and kind of talked about it. And I said, well, I need permission from the family. It's not just my decision. So we got together as a family, and my son, my daughter, and of course my wife and I. My son said, and my daughter said, this is bigger than us. There's a reason why this is happening.
Yeah.
So let's do it. So then what happened is the producer, director, and the editor would call, and we'd have long conversations. And I'd have a long conversation, my son Dan, my daughter, my wife, and we started formulating, what are we going to do? Where are we taking this? And then Mike Turville came in saying, we got to talk about making courage contagious. What's the theme? And it just was a bunch of people coming together, and then eventually we started agreeing on a script. And we went back and forth many, many times on the script, changing things, adding things.
Who was writing the script?
So it was being written by Jason Campbell and Dorian Clevenger, and he's the editor.
So Jason and Dorian would talk to you verbally.
And the director.
To pull the story out of you, and then they would put it to paper.
They would start putting things down and outline. They say, what do you think? And I would say, well, I want it more going maybe this way.
Okay.
Dan would say, I don't know about that. And Carly says, well, I was Jack's best friend. And then so they spent a lot of time with Carly.
Carly's his sister.
Yep, developing Jack's character to what Jack was like.
They did, they got
so
that
they
good.
started, and then so the script was, and it moved even during filming.
Really?
The script changed. The director liked something going on. He wanted to see more of it. The editor saw it later on, said, I want more of this, and we ended up filming even more after at other locations to continue filming it.
It's interesting to me as someone, pursuing a movie, to be made, but to understand like the aspect of, taking your verbal story, turning it into a tangible script.
That's correct.
That then can be
filmed.
filmed.
This one here is 70 pages long, both sides.
70 pages, huh? Oh yeah, so 70. It's 70 pages both sides, so 140 pages.
Yeah.
So make sure we say that, because I know most scripts they say are around 120 pages.
Well, it was, and we have to pare it back because you do 40 to 50 hours of filming, and you only have 90 minutes to show it.
Right.
So
the editors really come in handy.
Things get cut and changed.
Yeah, and how did you feel about when they cut certain scenes out? Did you, as the co-creator of this, were you able to say, I really need that scene in, or I understand why?
Right. So as an executive producer, and also being involved in writing the story, and it's I had my moments, and vice versa. But you respect each other and you talk through it. Yeah. You make adjustments. There are things that I wanted to see more of, but then there's things that I thought were phenomenal. So that's kind of what you go through.
Yeah.
But to come at the end of the day, you want to get your story out. You want to share it. You want to save lives.
Yeah.
That's what you want to do. And that's what you're thinking about when you're doing this. You're like, all right, what are we trying to achieve here?
The big why.
We want to save people. We want to save young adults.
You want to educate.
Honor, educate, support. And so you keep that in mind, and that's kind of how you continue on the journey of creating this and producing it.
I help out with the West Springfield Ecumenical Outreach Program, and we brought the Jack Jonah story into a dinner one night, and we played it. And Mike Torville was there that night, and Mike will share with you that there were so many people who stayed after to talk about what they've been through and how much they did relate and how much they were understanding what it puts their family through.
Yes, it does.
It puts the family through a lot. In regards to like the how this came to be, even before the movie producers came in and said, we want the story to be told. What was weighing on you? Like, I know in the movie there's this scene where you and Jack are having a conversation.
Yes. So here's what happened. I was having a really difficult time sleeping and getting through my day. And a friend came to me and said, Kirk, this is my story, and said, well, that's Jack and God trying to speak to you. Let them in.
Yeah.
So I said, okay. Well, I let them in, and I have to tell you, I got flooded with stuff because the Jack Jonah Foundation was created. Opioid Awareness, Learn and Live, got created. The tie-dye, which is a symbol of Jack, because he always made tie-dye shirts and socks for me for Father's Day, and my kids did as well. And tie-dye, Jerry Garcia ties.
Yeah.
And so that all came, and then becoming a 501c3. I don't know how to do this stuff. It just happened, and it just kept evolving. I can't explain it.
I resonate with your story so much because I know that feeling. I joke with my friends that my life is like the book of Samuel in the Bible. Where Samuel will say, Father, I woke up, I heard you calling me, and his father says, it wasn't me, go back to sleep. And then he says it again, and he goes, it wasn't me, go back to sleep. And then the third time, the father says, it's God calling you. Ask him what he wants. And it is that, like, in the middle of the night calling that you get, and you're, whether you're taking pen to paper at that moment, like with that epiphanetic moment of, inspiration, where that inspiration comes, definitely comes from, the Spirit,
It just kept evolving. And then Jack would share with me things that he was doing. And he shared with me that he messed up.
Yeah.
I will take your anger, Dad. I need you to go out and save lives. Sure. And then he would say to me, stop, your story is too negative. You need to make it, there's hope, there's a path, there's a way. And so I started interviewing those who are in recovery and those who have lost individuals. And I started really learning about this journey of how you become a heroin addict, because I never knew.
Yeah.
And it's just
and the doors just opened to start meeting those people.
I kept meeting people, and then people just started coming to me. And next thing I know, I was asked to speak, and I said, okay,
And you do a lot of speaking now.
I do now. Yes, I do. I just did multiple speeches a few weeks ago down in New Jersey at Saddle River Day School, and I spoke to a lot of athletes and their parents at halftime at basketball games, as well as I did some speaking in large crowds as well. But so this thing just kept evolving, and then the foundation kept evolving, the speaking engagements kept evolving. So I said, I'm just gonna, if I can save one life. So I'll give you a story. I spoke. I had a young girl come up to me, and she said, Mr. Jonah, I think she was in middle school. I have a friend of mine that's doing heroin, and I don't want to tell his father because I don't want to hurt him. And I looked at her and I said, well, wouldn't you rather have him hurt for a short period of time than like Mr. Jonah for the rest of his life?
Wow, yeah.
And she went with guidance.
Yeah.
I had another girl come up to me and said, Mr. Jonah, my mom was doing heroin. I was living alone with her. I didn't want to tell anybody because I didn't want to be removed from my home.
Yeah.
Like, what happened? She goes, well, my mom overdosed and passed. I said, well, are you getting help? And she said, well, no. I said, well, Mr. Jonah is in his 60s, and I go for professional help. Do you think that might help you? She said, think so? And off she went. So when I hear those types of stories, it keeps me going.
It keeps you going. It knows you're on the right path.
I think so.
And this is not a path that you chose.
It's not. I spoke quite a bit when I was younger. And I never realized it was God preparing me for the hardest speeches of my life.
Yeah.
But here I am.
Yeah. No, I've even kind of seen that through, my own life, just being a florist, being a writer. I've always knew I was going to be a mom. As a child, I dreamt about being a mom. I thought I was going to be a dancer on Broadway. I was a dancer for many years. But, all of a sudden, it's like, God presents something in your life, and, we say yes or no to it. Mm-hmm. And, accepting it and saying yes and feeling safe doing it and having like that real, this is why I'm doing this. I mean, for you, it's so dominant that obviously it's Jack. But, here it's like, had this not happened to Jack, you wouldn't be doing this today.
No, of course not.
So, it's that turn of events. I mean, my book, April Rain, is based on, a local murder that happened. Mm-hmm. And, I don't know what happened to the girl who, was murdered. But I've said to her mother, if she wasn't murdered, I wouldn't have wrote that book. I mean, it's like you just get that calling in the middle of the night or whatever that just makes you want to explore and find out, like, why. And like when you're saying that people make bad choices, they're not bad people, I mean, and I do see that people, Jack's not a bad guy. No. I mean, he made bad choices. He made poor choices.
He made a bad decision.
He knows it. And he wants to use, I guess the word is use you to help educate people. Because, without his body right now and without his voice being heard to say, hey, I made a stupid mistake, nobody do this. He has a father who loves him unconditionally, who not only is helping his son, but listening to, God, the creator, the universe, taking on this huge calling to help save lives.
So, what I found in this journey is that a lot of the recovering addicts that I have, they've shared their stories with me, they started with a painkiller, prescription painkiller from either surgery or at a party. It comes in a bottle from the drugstore, and
so they're not just like shooting it up or
anything. No. They start. That's how they start. And so I had one gentleman. He's in his 60s. He's a recovering heroin addict. He said he started it at the age of 59. And he's at a party, and he goes, it's from the drugstore. It's not from on the street.
Right. So yeah.
So I'd rather do this than do something I don't know what I'm doing.
Yeah.
And my brother took him for a surgery. He was a little goofy, so let me give it a shot. Well, he took it, and a few others did, and he goes, I'm the one that became the heroin addict of the group. Mm-hmm. So you don't know which one you're going to be. And what happens is you start out. Taking the pills, and then I tell a story of an athlete, a college athlete. He's doing 20 pills a day. Mm. Then he starts snorting them, and then your addiction, your brain keeps telling you want more. And then you go to snorting heroin. This one individual is doing 20 to 30 packets of heroin a day. Again, the brain gets immune, and then you get what he got with a friend. She put it in him, he put it in her. And then after that, he went off on his own, and he became. So it's a process that starts here, and you work your way, put a needle in your arm. Now, I didn't want to believe that about my son at first, but then I realized he went through the same process. So what I'm trying to do with the foundation is get in front of it. What can we do is get in front of it. And so that's why I try getting with the middle school, the parents, things like that.
I think it's really beautiful how, Jack reached out to you in a way to help you heal also, because I can, I will empathize and imagine the anger that you may have felt towards him, as much as you're, sad and, but as a father being, going through the anger and the madness of, how could you do this? And why did you do this? And you can't get that answer. And then, turning it a little bit onto yourself of, what did I do? How did I not see this? And for him to say, for you to hear him say, Dad, I made a mistake, and what the mistake was, was even doing it the first time, but continually doing it, and you being able to love him unconditionally and accept his apology and understand what his new mission is, in a way, because, we know if he hadn't ever done drugs, his mission was really big. He'd probably be producing movies or shows or things like that.
Yeah,
but
very, very talented.
Once he passed over, I've had these conversations with people who have passed over, and I've heard many times how, when you're there before your time, they find another purpose for you. And, I feel like this is his purpose now, to help other people. Mm-hmm. And, and he's doing it also, in an entertaining way, so
he is. Yep.
Even the way you are so approachable with people, that they can come to you and feel secure and share their story.
Yeah.
And I understand. I mean, I had a gentleman come up to me at one of the outreach dinners, and he was telling me how he was a heroin addict. Mm-hmm. And I was shocked that he shared this with me so openly. And I said, well, why don't you just stop? And he's like, I can't. I go, well, what made you start? And his story really stuck with me because this was a guy in his 50s, and he was married, 3 children, was a roofer, self-employed roofer, fell off a roof, had to have back surgery, got on the drug, couldn't work, didn't have insurance, couldn't collect workman's comp, lost his house, lost his family. Next thing you know, he's on the streets, in pain, can't afford health care, and he's self-medicating himself.
Right.
And this is exactly what you're talking about.
Yes, I am. Yes.
And the government even, they have to do something to help prevent that.
So again, so I focus on is what we can do as a foundation, and our mission again is to get in front of kids and educate parents. I'll have a gathering with. I did this my last speaking engagement. I looked at the parents. I said, how many of you right here in this audience right now have prescription opioid painkillers at home in your cabinet or your drawer that's sitting there unlocked while you're sitting here? Mm-hmm. And you see people and I said, so if each and every one of you right now, when you leave here, go home and lock it up, think about how many lives each and every one of you will save.
Yeah.
And that's what we do.
Yeah. I mean, and so many times when, if you do get that prescription from the doctor, if you're having a surgery or something, they're prescribing them for sort of the proper reason, but they're even over prescribing. So, if they're having extra pills, the doctor doesn't need to be giving them all. So
again, here's what we do as a family and foundation. I had an individual at the walking with another individual. They didn't know each other. The one individual was telling the other one that I lost my son. He had his wisdom teeth out, and he got hooked on painkillers, and got hooked and progressed to doing heroin overdose and died. The other woman called me up, said, what should I do? I said, it's not my decision. That's your decision. Mm-hmm. But I said, if you're going to bring that stuff into your house, control it. Lock it up. Mm-hmm. And she gave her son one after surgery, because he needed it in her mind. Yeah. Okay. Mm-hmm. She gave him one when he woke up, and then she took the other 18 and brought him down to a medical drop box at a local police station and got rid of him.
All the police stations have that too. Yeah.
A lot of them do. And on our website, you can type in a zip code and you'll know wherever you are in the country. That young man will not become addicted.
Right. Yeah.
So that's what we do.
One fact that somebody needs to know.
And so these individuals are very appreciative.
Yeah. So I want to talk a little bit one more time about the movie.
Sure.
Because there's a few scenes in there that I just was so heartwarming. I mean, really heartwarming. So
everyone has their scenes.
There's so many scenes.
Yep.
But there was a scene where, Jack, in a way I felt like almost was finding like a love interest, but it wasn't. He has this encounter with this girl, and they have a nice conversation.
Yep.
And, how did that part of the story come up? Because here, you and Jack are traveling, you're at a hotel, and you're going to be giving a speech or giving a talk about the opioid epidemic. And, Jack, walks over to the pool, and there's a girl around his age.
Yeah, okay, you don't want to...
I know, I don't want to give it all away. But he has this conversation, and I want to know, how did that scene come to be?
Okay, very, very easy. So one night, Jack came to me, and he said, Dad, I want to tell you what I'm doing. I said, what? He said, I'm helping those that overdose cross over to heaven. Mm-hmm. And I'm also helping those that lose an animal, help them with their grief. And those are the two things I'm doing.
Yeah, it's beautiful.
There you go.
And I think that scene touched me so much because I resonate with that a lot.
That's a beautiful scene.
As a Christian, as a florist, I've seen this transition where people are crossing over. And, as a florist, I sometimes, would joke in a serious way that I would be one of the 5 people that someone meets when they pass over. Because, you're going to your parents, you're going to, the doctors, the funeral home. They travel with the family, within the first 24 hours, their spirit. When they come to the flower shop, a lot of times I can feel that energy. And, knowing that he's helping someone helping others to help cross over and have that friend to hold their hand and say, you know what, it's going to be okay. On that side, for those who do tragically lose their life. But then on this side, he's working with you to prevent people from having to meet him too soon.
To educate, yep.
Yeah. So it was a really beautiful
and
moment.
that scene we redid multiple times.
Yeah.
I mean, I can go. We had rain come in. I can go on and on and on.
Yeah.
It was quite a. It took a lot to get that scene done.
I can imagine all the filming.
But we felt that was a very, very important part of the movie.
Yeah. And, showing, and again, I'm not doing any spoiler alert, but you do show the walk, Jack's actual walk that you do every year still.
Yeah, we're not doing it this year, just taking a year off.
Okay.
I got to just a lot of speaking engagements, a lot going on, and it takes a lot of energy from all my friends and volunteers to help with this, and so the thought process just to take a year off. But yes, a dear friend that I met in the real estate business said, "Hey, we use a drone when we sell houses.
Oh.
Do you mind if we have a guy come with a drone and professionally film
it?" Oh, that's
so
how you got that.
Yeah, I said, sure. And so the producer said, well, I want to see it. And the editor, so I sent them the whole drone footage.
So that footage is used in the movie.
Is the real actual footage.
Oh, that's so nice to know, because I did know you were going to do a walk for the movie, and you had called out for extras.
The walk was before.
The walk was before.
So what they did is they took the real filming of the walk, plus some of the additional. Right.
The additional would be where they had
where we did the others along
the walk with the pictures and things. Yeah. Okay.
So we added that as well, and we had over 400 people participate actually in the movie. 400 different people.
Wow, that's amazing.
Yeah.
Well. What's next for you right now? Like, are you working on another book? Are you going to write this in a book? Are you working on
there are
something
things.
else?
There are things that we're talking about. We'll see. I'm not really sure. But right now, I just want to get back. Now with COVID being over, I just want to get back in front of these kids and really get talking to them. And I'm getting invites to multiple projects again.
And you're traveling around the country.
I've been mostly New England right now, but I'll travel anywhere and speak. And all we ask is you just make a donation to the foundation. That's it. It's a 501c3 nonprofit approved by the IRS, so it's tax deductible. And that's all we ask.
This movie's been shown in schools.
Shown in schools. It's usually it's 90 minutes, so it's usually shown in health class.
Okay.
And then they'll ask me to come in and speak.
Okay.
To an assembly. I did 2,100 kids in 2 days at one point. And again, I'll just...
Do you see this this movie going out like mainstream audiences?
Well, it's on Hulu. It's on Amazon Prime. Okay, so it's all streaming.
We'll put the link on our website. So
and you can get it from our Jack Jonah Foundation. The website that we have has an area that has support. And so when people call me and say, Kirk, what should I do? I go to the support, click on it, and there's multiple organizations locally.
You've really set up so much.
That you can click on it, and it takes you right to the website. I said, call this number. They'll call you right back. And then they have that type of support, because I need them to be able to go someplace, find what they need.
Yes.
That making that phone call is very, very...
It's very difficult.
Very difficult. But those who've made it have reached out to me and said, oh my gosh, this is helping me so much understand. I have a couple that are dear friends that a brother called mom and said, Mom, my other brother's doing heroin. Mom said, not in our family. And they went to learn to cope. They learned about it. They came home. Their son did overdose. They kicked the bathroom door down. That's a sign when the door is locked. They did Narcan 3 to 4 times, revived him. So now I say to the kids, how do you think the brother felt that was doing heroin about his other brother so-called squealing on him? They were not good.
Yeah.
I said, how they are today? The brother's still alive.
Yeah.
They're good friends.
Yeah. I remember reaching out to you. I had a client come into the flower shop whose son had died of a heroin overdose. He had no idea, same position. And I remember reaching out to you because it was right around the time of your walk. So when he came into the shop, I said, there is an organization if you want to go to, you can, number one, be around other people for some support. But I'm sure Mr. Jonas would talk to you and help you through this. I mean, of course, it was I think your walk was a week later, but I know he did reach out to you. And it was
helpful for me to be able to know I could help him with this.
Yep.
And, grief is a hard thing, and grief when it's a tragedy like that is even harder to go
Yeah,
through.
so for the walk, for me, I met other individuals that are in the same situation. So for me, it helped me heal. Because there's walks for,
everything.
But there's no walks. I mean, there aren't. You're seeing more and more
there's
now.
That stigmata that people are, don't want to say. I mean, I have another customer who lost her son, and and it was very tragic because him and his girlfriend were together, in bed, and the girlfriend woke up and he had overdosed. And they had both been, high at the time. And, I know the grief that she suffers is so hard, but she doesn't want to talk about it. Because it's embarrassing. And I go, you need to talk to someone. There's, help to help you.
Yeah. Everyone handles their grief in their own way. And this is just how, my family and I are handling it. And again, we're doing it because Jack wants us to save lives.
Yeah, and Jack's really, helping. I can, visualize him bringing, even as I'm mentioning, these particular cases, like saying, okay, let me introduce you to him, and he can help you. So yeah, I was really excited you were going to come on to the show today because, I'm enthralled with learning on how you get your story told into a movie like that, and that whole process of verbalizing your story. I mean, there's ghostwriters out there who write, books, and then, there's film documentaries, but, this really became, a magical story.
It just happened.
So,
and, I'm very
fortunate. Right.
Yeah, and I'm very fortunate, Dean Cain,
Superman,
he played a major role in the movie. We're, very, very good friends. And it was great that he wanted to bring his talents to the movie and help with it.
And he has a great role. I mean, he plays a police officer, but there's another side story to it that is
and we kind of wrote that in, how are we gonna, how are we gonna write Dean into the script, and we had many discussions on that. Who's he gonna play and things like that. So it's a good product.
Yeah.
And we're proud of it. And if it again
helps
honors, educates, support, and save lives. Mike Turville brought up, make courage contagious. That's the theme. And so when I tell kids is, I got a girl and a guy. A girl knew her buddy was doing heroin, didn't say anything, and he overdosed and passed. And I say to the kids, I said, how do you think that girl's doing today? They go, not good. I said, so which one are you going to be? You're going to be the brother that fights for his brother's life? Or are you going to be the girl that doesn't say anything?
Yeah, because it's hard to be a whistleblower.
Which one do you want to be?
Yeah, no, it's much better to be a whistleblower
And
than save someone's life.
That's the message I'm trying to get across.
Yeah. And this message, which you were called to share and then were called again to say share more in this movie, prompted so many other things. Everything has a ripple effect. I mean, Mike Torville, as you said, is a good friend of yours. He was the one who approached you to say, hey, let's talk to this, producer and try and get this made into a movie. And then Mike Torville goes on to write this book called Voices from the Falling, which
correct.
is the story of addiction, grief, and recovery.
Nine true stories.
9 true stories
written
in this book.
First person.
Yeah, I mean, it's...
And so it gives you, and again, I bring this book to wherever I speak, and I hand it out. The foundation purchase it, and we hand it out to young children. And the thought process is, if one of the 9 stories, it could resonate with one of these young adults.
Yeah.
And the kids, it's interesting. When I speak, I put the movie out and the book out. The kids all take the book.
Really?
And the adults take the movie.
Interesting.
Very interesting.
Yeah, no, and I've told Michael, and like I said, he's going to be on the show. I've told Michael that his book's inspiring me. I mean, as an author and writing stories and trying to get stories out and creating them in a way that can not only be educational but also a little entertaining. I mean, my first book, An Angel's Journey, was inspired by this customer of mine's daughter who came to me, in the middle of the night and wanted to share her story because the mother was so filled with grief that she really was like, where is my daughter right now? Like, help me find her. And I'm like, she's with God. Don't you know she's okay? She's in your heart. You love her. You're the mom. She's with you. And, trying to work that story and share like how it could be told was a journey for me, because I really knew that it was an important story to be told, but I didn't want to come across looking crazy, or someone be like, oh, she's a medium, I want to go talk to her. And it's like, no, that's not how it works, I mean, the times that the Holy Spirit wakes me up in the middle of the night, I mean, I sit and write, and sometimes I do things with him and sometimes I don't. But, the fact that he wrote The Voices from the Falling with these true stories, I have my own true story of, the voices that I, have heard in a non-crazy way. That is, I know the Holy Spirit saying, hey, listen, there is something beyond this life, and there's something that you need to do while you're on this earth. And Jack definitely has said that to you. There's more to this life, and Dad, there's something you need to do. And, he's very grateful. I think you're going to have millions of people so grateful that you've shared the story, because you're going to save many lives. And I do wish that we were able to save Jack's life, but we are saving Jack's spirit for sure. His spirit is around us and will never leave your side, that's for sure. So again, I thank you for coming on the show.
Thank you.
For those of you interested more to hear about the Jack Jonah Foundation, you can log on to their website and make a donation. You can go on to find out about the movie and watch it on Netflix and Hulu and all of those wonderful stations that have that available to you. If you're looking to have him come to your school and to show the program in the health class or present, please contact either Studio 954, the Jack Jonah Foundation, or myself, and we'll put you in touch with him. So I want to thank Studio 954 for letting us have our program again today here. Again, I like to end our programs with a little writing prompt, because you're tuning in because you have a story inside you and you need to tell it. So if you start putting some pen to paper, I think that will happen for you. Today's writing prompt is to sit down and write a story about someone that you love that may have passed over, and tell us a little bit about what kind of conversation you're having with them. There must be some maybe unresolved issue, or maybe a special story that you want to share, and just get that down on paper, because there's a story everywhere. Thanks for tuning in to yWrite. I'm Angela Grout, and I'll see you next time.